Welcome to episode number 52 of the Mr. Movie News Podcast. The gang is all here once again, and we are ready to go. This is the show that not only brings you the latest movie news about movies in current production, pre-production, or perhaps rumors that are spreading fast and furious. This week, John Carter opened up in theaters. Isn't it great to see Jimmy Carter's brother getting more attention than when he was president? And will this movie be more successful than him? This is Mr. Movie News, and this show starts now. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. This is Tony G. This is the Mr. Movie News Podcast. Welcome to our latest show, where we talk about the movies that are coming and things that we're interested in that have to do with movies. And before we get started, let me introduce our panel here. We'll start off with someone who's driving out there from the hills of Hollywood. That's Davey.
Yay.
And joining us from Georgia, there is Jackie.
Hello, everybody.
From the Mid-Atlantic states, that's New Jersey to you and me, there's Richie.
Yo, what's up?
And last but not least, it's your host and mine, Mr. Movie News himself, Scott.
Hello, everybody, cast and crew, and to all our fans. We are back for another show.
Welcome back.
Hello.
How's everybody's week go?
Yay.
Very well.
So what's new and exciting this week that anyone has anything to talk about?
Don't all answer at once.
It's like a classroom. It's exactly like when the teacher says, okay, who can answer this problem? And everybody shrinks down in their seats.
Well, I could start off. I was at a preview screening of John Carter last night.
Awesome.
And I won't ruin it for anybody here, but I will say I'm not really sure what movie the critics saw because, as usual, they seem to hate science fiction and they hate everything anyway. They like Mikey. So, and I tend to like weird movies anyway, so even if they're right, it doesn't really matter in my world because I go see what I want to see. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a spectacular science fiction movie of the type of that we haven't seen since maybe the 80s. It was kind of like, it reminded me sort of Dune, of the original Dune movie, Flash Gordon, that kind of excessive science fiction epic, which the audience was responding to. I mean, it was a preview audience, but it did get applause at certain points. Some of the scenery is spectacular. Some of the scenes are pretty clever, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think once you all get to see it as well.
Yeah, I get to see it. I got a screening coming tomorrow, so I get to go see it tomorrow night.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm really excited. Yeah.
Cool.
So, did you see it in IMAX or regular?
I did, IMAX 3D.
Really?
And
Wow.
And I will say the 3D in there, I mean, I didn't have to pay, so it was enjoyable enough for me, but the 3D was pretty amazing. I mean, I was sitting there looking to the sides, since it's such a huge IMAX screen. I was looking to the sides, looking at the little details that are going on in the corners of the screen. There was a lot of thought put behind how this movie was going to look. Maybe more so than in telling an entertaining story. Maybe that's the problem that the critics have. But if you can get into the world of something, as far as I'm concerned, especially cinematically, then a movie works for me. If I'm watching a movie and I suddenly am thinking during it that I can't wait to find out how this was made because I can't figure it out for the life of me, then that makes it a good movie for me to go see. But
Stereo D got to do some of the 3D. And
oh, great, cool, nice.
So I have some friends that did some stuff. So yeah, I mean, they didn't do the whole movie, but there is some stuff that they got to do, and it's pretty. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched to see it. I'm really, really, really psyched.
I'm really wondering what the aside from the critics, what science fiction fans will think of it, because I know there probably will be some that will think it's kind of corny or lackluster, because you really can't help it when you deal with material that's that old. Yeah. But I think it was handled the right way, and we'll see what happens.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The books are good, but they are very dry. Like the first book, it took me about 100 pages to really convince myself if I'm really going through with this, because it really just took its time, and plus the fact that it was written in the I always get this wrong. The third person is when you're talking about yourself, right? Is that the third person or is that the first person?
That's first person.
First person, yeah. But yeah, it's written in the first person, and sometimes when something's written you're only hearing their thoughts, so it's interesting, but then at the same time, you kind of get a little bored of just being with one person. You know what I mean? So so that's why the first book, I should say, really took me a while to get into. But once I got to the end of it, the other two I just flew into. I didn't read the other ones, but. There were 9 altogether, but I'm anxious. I'm going on Monday to see it in IMAX, so yeah, I'm pretty psyched.
Nice.
I think if they got everybody who worked on this movie to go see it, they'd make a fortune. And speaking of fortune, Scott, what do you think about last week's top grossers? It was the Lorax.
Wow.
You know, I think that any children's movie that comes out usually is going to be a #1 movie because usually there's not enough content for the kids. So therefore, you know, when a movie comes out, all the parents are eager to want to get their kids out and go see the movie. So I wasn't surprised by it. I mean, you know, I expected it. I think the second movie was Act of Valor, wasn't it? The Navy SEAL movie?
Oh, yeah.
I want to see that. That looks really, really good. And I had heard that the action is just amazing in it.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I thought
actually,
that was a really good idea to have the active duty military people starring in that. I just thought that was a really cool idea for a hook.
Looks really good. I'm anxious to see that. And I might actually go and see that probably next week at some point in time.
Actually, yeah, I think it was the #3 movie, but I know it is a big, especially where I am, it's a big hit. But Project X actually was the #2, and that one that's like a found footage, but a party movie, right? Is that what that was supposed to be?
Yes, from the makers of Superbad and what was the other movie? I think The Hangover. Todd Phillips produced it too as well.
So that one, it just doesn't look that interesting.
So it wasn't a remake of the one with the monkeys, the chimps, and Matthew Broderick?
No.
Yeah, really. Can you imagine?
Well, they probably were acting like a bunch of baboons, but I don't think it was that movie you're talking about.
You know what's so funny about that movie? That the promotion on the original, I'm talking about the one Jackie's talking about, the Matthew Broderick one. The promotion on that movie, you would think like the newest Star Wars was coming out. Like I had no idea what Project X was, but when I'd ride the subway, I knew I had to go see it because because every poster, everywhere I looked, it's like, do you know what Project X is? And it seemed so exciting. And then you see the movie, and you're like, really? A monkey who's learning sign language?
Oh my God, I loved that movie.
Did you? Did you really?
But
you didn't have the build-up, though. You didn't have the build-up I had, though. Like I really thought I was going to see the most amazing movie ever made. You know?
Wasn't that
sign language?
Wasn't that
sign language?
Wasn't that Helen Hunt's first big movie or one of her big breaks? I think wasn't she in that?
She was in the she's in the first scene. Like she's the one that has the monkey originally.
Oh.
Right.
I remember loving it, and I remember just really being excited about monkeys in those simulators. Like that was so much fun. I was like, I want to go in that room and play with the monkeys and have simulated like awesome, like space time, you know, or whatever flight simulators that were awesome. But again, you know, I thought that was kind of cool. But I haven't seen it since I was young, so God knows how it held up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it once in the movies. I don't think I ever saw it again, but. Now that the way you're talking about it, I'm just it's jogging my memory. I'm almost thinking about Rise of the Planet of the Apes in a weird way, right? I guess it kind of had that because weren't there a group of monkeys, and then one of them was kind of the bad monkey a little bit, like he was.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. There was the bad monkey, and he had kind of like a gray, silvery face, and he was kind of messed up a little bit, and he was really cool, and I don't know, I don't really remember it well enough to really talk about it at length, but I remember really being into it when I was little, and it came out around the same time, or maybe it's just that I saw it around the same time about when that other movie came out where the little boy Daryl, that's what it was.
Daryl, robot.
That's weird. Are you inside my head? Jesus Christ! I was about to say next week we're going to talk about Daryl.
Well, we've spoken about Mac and Me, right? It was only time that we finally got to Daryl and Project X. You know what? But the thing, I think why I was so disappointed, because, I mean, literally, I don't know if you saw it on video or in the movies, but you knew nothing about what this movie was, and it was like coming off of the War Games kind of press. So it was like Matthew Broderick, Project X. I got to be there, you know. And then when I'm seeing monkeys, I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Like and it just seemed so I haven't seen it in years, but it just seemed so slow paced for what it was built up to be that I think it doesn't matter if it was the most amazing movie ever. I was sitting there with my arms crossed, because I was just duped.
Yeah. No, I think I watched
it a lot with a lot of movies in the 80s. It happened a lot with a lot of movies in the 80s, like Firefox. I remember wanting to see Firefox so bad because I wanted to see Clint Eastwood fly around in that awesome jet.
Yeah.
And he only does it for like the last 10 minutes.
That's true. Or Blue Thunder was like that. Blue Thunder was like that. And what was that other one? I can't think of the other one that you said Firefox, Blue Thunder, and then there was a third one where Megaforce. Remember, Dave? We thought Megaforce was going
to be like the next the G.I. Joe that we wanted. They were planning on that being a huge franchise where they had video games for it, and you see the movie, and it's to this day I have tried to watch it, and it's just so horrible, so horrible. But and I remember watching it as a kid. It has so many cool elements about it, but it's just so boring.
Yeah.
And with a tagline like, even the good guy. What was it?
I'm literally trying to remember it. You're the bad guy, and remember, the good guys always win in the end. That was like the tagline on the poster.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.
Oh, that's right.
With his turquoise head.
And that was what's his name? Rocky Horror. I can't think of his name. Barry Bostwick. Yeah, was the star of that gem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so dull.
Well, it sounds like we're going to be doing a Real Geek one of these days about trailers, about how trailers met or didn't meet our expectations. Because
we can add it to the pile.
What's that? Yeah, we could add to the pile of the ones we want to do. But speaking of trailers, really quickly, with regard to this week's news, one of the criticisms that John Carter has been getting is that its media advertising blitz was not a very good one. That people are getting the wrong idea of what this movie is, and that they did not do a good job of marketing it. And I'm not really sure. In my case, I don't think that's necessarily true. But I've spoken to a couple people who do agree with that, and I'm just wondering what you guys think.
I don't think the movie is generating a lot of buzz. I mean, I don't know, is it just me personally that feels that way? But it just doesn't seem like this movie feels like it's like a big release that it wants to be. It just, I don't know.
The marketing's everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, the marketing is everywhere. And the thing is it because it looks like something, it kind of looks like Clash of the Titans from the 80s? Pardon me.
It kind of feels like, don't you feel like people have like a low tolerance for things lately? Like, back in the day, like I feel like if Star Wars came out today, before knowing what Star Wars was, people would kind of be like, I don't want to see that. Like everybody wants to see something they're familiar with. Mm-hmm. They're not ready to, because look at Tintin did so horribly out here compared to how it did.
Yeah, it's on video next week, right?
Yeah, it's on video next week, and the fact that nobody really saw it, and it was a big hit everywhere else but here.
Hey, I mean, look at Hugo. It's already on video, and it was just in the Academy Awards last week.
Yeah.
So. Here's my take on it. I think that this movie is going to be one of many that's falling to the expectations of what's coming out. They don't care about John Carter. They just want the Avengers. They don't care about John Carter. They want Batman. They don't care about John Carter. They want Spider-Man. So this movie isn't living up to anybody's expectations because they're already looking into May already. Get here. We won't.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point also, because don't you think it's kind of weird? When I was sitting there watching it, I was thinking, isn't this more of a summer movie? Wouldn't this fit more in the summertime when?
Yeah, people have to be real careful about it.
I don't think so. I think it's a do or die situation. If you put this in the summer
of this year.
Yeah, but where are you going to put that in order to generate some kind of revenue when you're going up against comic book heaven this summer?
Right.
There's a lot of buzz about the Avengers, the new longer trailer being at the front of John Carter, and people being able to see that in 3D. I mean, I have to admit, it's not the only reason I want to go see that this weekend, but I'm excited about seeing that trailer in front of it in 3D.
I think the trailer of the Avengers is going to have more of an audience than the John Carter movie.
Well, that's happened before.
Also, it's opening now, like this March when it's opening right now is now the 300 slot. Like Watchmen opened at this time, and this is where they actually do release big event movies that aren't actually big event movies. You know what I mean? Like that aren't in the people's peripheral. So this March has now become like kind of the tryout, and then the sequel probably, if there is ever a sequel, or if it's a big hit, like any movie that opens in March, their sequel will inevitably open in summertime. You know what I mean? Like it's so I think we're always going to see, they're always going to give the tryout movies this time slot. I don't think they'd ever put it in the summer. I think it would just, unless Will Smith's is in it, you know, I doubt they'd ever do something like that.
And I never really understood why they stuck with that.
What, with Will Smith and 4th of July?
Frame. Well, no, not so much that, but just in general. I mean, I always assumed that it was just because people were out and about and had extra money and were ready to go, and you know, I mean, kids were out of school, and it was just kind of like a big thing.
No.
What about Tone?
Yes.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Davey, what's up?
The director, he's a Pixar guy.
Yes,
right?
he's one of the guys
what do you,
from Pixar.
Do you think he did well with directing human beings as
I think
opposed to
so.
animated people?
I think so. I think there are one or two scenes in which I actually thought that it felt kind of cartoony. Like I could imagine a cartoon character saying something to somebody else. And occasionally there are those moments where some of the action even seems somewhat cartoony. And I also noticed that there were a couple of spots where where jokes that were made, you know, little side jokes were missed because they happen in the middle of the action. Someone says something. If you're not listening because you're too busy watching what the action's going on, you completely miss the joke, and it happened at least 2 or 3 times. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's got a handle on it, but I thought that some of his ideas were very good, and you know, as I said, I'm curious to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, and then Brad Bird, who's another Pixar guy, his first film out of the gate was Mission Impossible, and that was, I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. His storytelling and the way he framed it all, and the way he had it, you could tell he had a real good sense of what being a director means. And I think sometimes, I think having to do it for 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional cartoons, I think that takes more work, and it really... Yeah,
you have to plan it out more.
Yeah, exactly. And you really have to think about it, you know.
For years, you're planning exactly how the shot's going to go.
So maybe, you know, that kind of meticulous planning, like, really lends itself to live action, you know.
Well,
maybe
and you know,
makes it easier.
The alien characters here are somewhat cartoony because they're digital. So I think he's got that experience. I'll put it this way: there was one point in the movie where I forgot that those were digital characters. I didn't even think about that.
That's the best compliment you can give a movie like that.
Yeah. But that was me, so I still have to hear what you guys say. So anyway, why don't we move on to the news portion of our show? Scott, are you ready to go ahead with the news?
I am ready.
All right, so here we go.
All right, well, in The Abyss, James Cameron said 2.5 miles straight down. Well, now he's going 7 miles straight down. James Cameron is doing a 3D documentary called Deep Sea Challenge. He's taking a submarine to the deepest parts of the ocean on planet Earth, and that is going to be set. What?
Yeah, he's gonna meet the devil. That's what
he's going to the Mariana
Trench. Mermaider. I'm sorry.
He's going to down to the Mariana Trench, which is 7 miles beneath the ocean surface in the coming weeks. National Geographic Society and Rolex are helping promote this, and they're also going to be filming this as well. He plans to stay down there for 6 hours at least. A person did that, spent only 20 minutes, and that was back in January 23rd of 1960 by U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh and a Swiss oceanographer, Jacques Piccard, not of the Starship Enterprise.
Is he doing this just to have fun?
No, he wants to see what's actually down there. You know, not only is he a revolutionary filmmaker, but he's also a scientist and an engineer, and he's fascinated by the ocean depths. So he's going down there to see. I think
it's like also research for Avatar. It's under the guise of being research for Avatar as well.
I wouldn't doubt it.
For the next Avatar. Because the next one's going to take place under the sea. So
Yeah.
Well, he's really going to the extremes to go and get some good shots. So, I mean, he's going 7 miles straight down. You can only imagine what the pressure must be like down there, and how strong this submersible must be in order to sustain life inside of it and not getting crushed.
I picture him being like Michael Biehn in The Abyss, when Michael Biehn loses it.
Yeah, he gets the shakes.
Starts to try killing everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Michael Biehn, I was watching Grease last night on AMC with show notes. Do you remember the scene where Danny, John Travolta, is trying out for all the sports in the high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he's playing basketball and he punches the guy in the gut?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Michael Biehn.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, poor guy.
Right.
AMC, gotta love AMC with show notes, boy, because I would never have known that if it wasn't for that. I love that
He
show.
just gets his
On your
behind
feet,
kicked every
Zuko.
time.
So that's Michael Bihn's claim to stardom, is getting punched by Danny Zuko.
Wow.
So I thought that was quite interesting.
It is.
That's pretty cool.
So that is what James Cameron is busy doing, as well as getting Avatar 2 and 3 ready. So good luck to him, and stay safe, boy. I mean, that's really dangerous. I can't even imagine. It must be like a sardine can inside that submersible, and two people are going down. So tight quarters.
Let's just hope karma's on his.
Really? Wait.
Sounds like David went down to the. Are you with Cameron right now, Dave?
I think David went under the water there.
Yeah.
Hello?
There he is.
Did I lose you guys? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think
Shit.
you went underwater with.
We thought you imploded there for a second from the pressure.
Say that joke. You were making some kind of joke. What did you say?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should.
You started again. Two guys walk into a bar. One's James Cameron.
All I said was, let's just hope. Well, nah, it's kind of mean, so I'll just stay.
Don't worry, Dan. I'm sure you'll. Don't worry, Dave. I'm sure in the next story we'll be hearing more from you. Trust us. We're gonna need your singing talent. So hang on.
Oh.
You tell me when you're ready.
Go right ahead.
All right.
All right, on to the next story. Sylvester Stallone plans to kill off Rambo in the final sequel. Cue Davey. Go ahead. You got to sing. Come on. You do it every time.
It's the end of the long road.
I love that. I love it. All right, so we go. The story goes and says we still have no idea when Sylvester Stallone will be bringing his John Rambo back to theaters, tentatively titled Rambo: Last Stand. But it seems that Sylvester Stallone has a definitive plan in place for the sequel, and he dropped his bombshell that he plans to kill off Rambo. He goes on and he says, I'm dying to do another Rambo. He's in Arizona on the border. It will involve him going into Mexico. I don't think Rambo likes Mexicans. When asked if this would be
nice,
the final...
It's terrible.
He hates tacos.
Yeah, really.
Oh my God.
I read that article and I was like, I kind of felt slightly insulted by the whole thing, to be honest with you. And plus, I didn't realize how, I know he was always with all the presidents, but I never realized how Republican he actually was until that interview. Like, he really has some very conservative views, which surprised me.
When they asked him if this would be the final Rambo with the iconic character dying off at the end, Sylvester Stallone had only one word, and that was, yeah.
Gets killed by banditos.
Yeah, he also talked about Rocky in that interview, too, because he wants to do both of those movies. And
Well, yes, he goes on and he went to discuss why he desperately wants to turn to the character one last time of Rocky. He goes on and he says, Rocky is me after coffee. Rambo has reverted into kind of like an primitive, reactive, and almost like an animal. I love this character because he hasn't quite been fleshed out. He's like a knight looking to die in a glorious fashion. He has no desire to go into an old age home or have family.
With his shield not on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird interview because then he also goes on to talk about how he and Sylvester and Schwarzenegger really hated each other there for a while. Like it wasn't just like yeah, it was only like a couple of years ago when Schwarzenegger became governor that they actually, even though they were partners in Planet Hollywood, they actually weren't friends. They would avoid each other like the plague, and which I thought was so weird. But then he's like. But then it went to the political thing again because then he said, but when he became governor and I really respected him for that, and then that's how we became friends. And so it was it was a very odd interview with him.
Okay. I haven't seen the original, so I don't know how it is, but it seems that there's a sequel already in the works, and I'm talking about the movie Chronicle, which was released on February 3rd. Writer Max Landis has signed on to write the second installment of this movie, Chronicle. The original stars seem to be back as well, and they will be joining the director and the writer for the second go-around. It seems that the writer has been very busy lately with Amnesty, which is another movie, a pitch from the writer that Ron Howard is set to direct. And that's an untitled adventure pick for Disney. So I guess he'll do Amnesty first, and then he'll move on to the sequel. But I have not seen the original, so I could not tell you if it's worthy of having a sequel.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I really want to see it. I wanted to see it, but I didn't. I just felt like that kind of movie would probably work better at home since it's a found footage movie. I like watching those on a TV.
I've only heard good things. Like anybody I know who's seen it has just said how much they've liked it. So, I haven't heard anything negative about it, to be honest.
So okay. Is this a new genre that's developing, this found footage type of movie?
Oh, yeah, it makes tons of money because it's like you make a lot of money off of something that doesn't take a whole lot of dough to make.
And that's something like what, paranormal?
Part of the charm to those movies. Part of the charm to those movies is the fact that they don't have much, like high production value. It just looks real, like there's... like it's really filmed with a video camera, so, yeah, whatever.
And I think it would, because Blair Witch did it, but then really what took it to the next level was the, I call it the Godzilla one. What was that one that came out a couple of years ago?
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield, yeah. Like that one really is what kind of re-energized it from, because after Blair Witch 2, I think people just kind of said, oh well.
And Cloverfield is what made it into kind of a budget movie, you know what I mean? Where there were effects, actually. They just weren't really focused on. And what was the other one? REC, that they did
they redid it as Quarantine. Yeah,
Thank you, Quarantine. I couldn't think of the American. Yeah, which was also it was good. And there are effects in there, and there's some different little subtleties. But the other thing that I think might be why it's so good is it's very easy to give this project to someone who doesn't have a lot of credibility as a director, and it's like just kind of breaking into the industry because they're not pinning, millions of dollars on them, or hundreds of millions anyway, so I actually think it's kind of cool that it's taking off. I hope that they don't run it into the ground, but I also think that it's kind of ridiculous to have the kind of budgets that we do in some of our blockbusters. As much as I want to see movies like The Avengers, it also, there's a part of me that just makes me kind of sick to my stomach that there's starving children in America, and we're paying Johnny Depp however many billions of dollars to put Tonto face paint on.
Speaking of Johnny Depp, you guys did see that picture, right?
Oh, Jesus.
I think they should have waited a little bit longer before they went into production.
It looks like they just slapped something on. All right, we need some. Give me a white face paint makeup and.
What kind of hat should we give him? Let's put a crow on his head.
It's that bird and put it on my head and.
It's like
he looks like Jack Sparrow. Jack
Sparrow with a crow.
It does.
Jack Crow.
Actually, what's funny is if you look at he's coming out with Dark Shadows and he's got that white face paint. Maybe he just walked off the set of Dark Shadows and just got to this set and he said, "Put a crow on his head." He's all set. I mean, it's ridiculous. But and not to go away from this, but Jackie, did you say you saw the new one that just came out today, or the new found footage horror film? I don't remember the. of it. It's a
Silent,
remake.
Silent House or something like that.
Silent House. Is that the? Oh, okay.
Oh no, I have not. I have not seen that, but I am interested because that's supposed to be a real time movie where you actually, like, if it's a 2-hour movie or however long it is, like, you stay with that lead actress for the entire 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
there's
it
no
a true story? Or based
yeah
on
to
true
get
events?
is it based
it's
on
a-
true events? I don't know.
it's a
Maybe it's
remake.
inspired, but
I think it's a remake. I forgot what country, but I've just seen so many
Okay.
good reviews for it, but I didn't know if
I'm
if it actually.
curious. I hadn't seen it, but that's another one that I probably will watch at home. Honestly, I don't know that I want to go sit in the theater and see that. Also, because I get scared.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially if you're in my neighborhood and you go to the movies and you find out nobody else is in the theater with you and you've got to sit through a
Yeah.
horror film by yourself. That's always fun.
Yeah, that's nice.
Really quickly, I was just wondering with that kind of movie. I know movie fans are in on the joke, and they know that it's a movie based on, on the premise of a found footage. But I wonder what happens when these movies go and play in theater houses where people aren't savvy to how movies are made and think,
Tony,
"Wow, someone found that."
Blair Witch, I'll always remember. I saw Blair Witch at the Angelica, and there were people crying. There were girls crying in the
Yeah,
back because
people
they
thought
thought
it
it
was
was
real.
real footage.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
People thought it was real. I was in Florida when I saw it, and there were girls crying because they thought it was real.
I could see that.
I'm like, really? I'm like, the lead girl is in a freaking Steak and Shake commercial. This is not real.
Maybe they were thinking that poor Steak and Shake girl,
Oh.
And I was going to eat Steak and Shake tonight.
She had such a promising career ahead of her.
Yeah. Well, you know what she does now? She just released a book about recipes with hemp, and she grows her own
Of
hemp.
course she did. Of course.
Well.
All right, moving on from one horror movie to another. This one totally shocked me because I didn't even know they were developing another one after the last one was such a bomb. But it seems that Dimension Films has yanked the horror sequel Halloween 3D out of its original October 26th, 2012 release date. Now the project is simply listed as TBA, to be announced. Not much was heard about this franchise when the last one was released. I don't know. It was made by
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie, which was completely a disaster, horrible. But this movie, directed by Patrick. I'm not going to.
Tatopoulos?
No, this is the guy that did the Drive Angry duo, Patrick Lussier.
Oh, okay.
Lussier, and Todd Farmer were previously attached to this project, but it isn't known if they're still involved. The movie Halloween 3D is in development, and strangely enough, it stars Brad Dourif. So
Brad Dourif. Oh, okay. Chucky.
Yeah, and wasn't he in the first Blade movie?
He was also in Lord of the Rings.
He wasn't in Blade. Blade was Brad. Damn it!
That's Steven Dorff.
Oh,
Steven
Brad
Dorff,
Dourif.
yeah.
That's Steven
All
Dorff.
right.
Yeah.
Steven Dorff.
Too many
Steven Dorff is the
Brads.
good one.
No, he
was Eraserhead.
Yeah, he was Eraserhead. He was in Dune, and he was also the king in Lord of the Rings. Well, not the king. He was the advisor to the
Wormtongue.
king. Yeah, Wormtongue.
Oh, I hate that guy, and he was in Alien Resurrection.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't like him.
He's a very weird actor.
I couldn't even believe
Yeah.
this was even on the drawing board after the Rob Zombie disaster. So that's
Yeah.
quite
I
funny.
honestly enjoyed the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes. I thought they were kind of crazy and
didn't-
wacky. I don't know. I like Rob Zombie. I don't know. I like his movies.
I do too. I only saw the first one, and I never got to see the second one. The only thing I had a problem with in the first Halloween was I thought the first half was great. I thought the second half, I just hated the teen actors in it, and it kind of lost me. But to me, I love
They were all
his.
hot. They were all so hot, though.
Yeah. What am I talking to, Scott or Dave? Who was that?
Staying quiet.
Well, I am Dave
You're
because
not
I'm wearing his
this
underwear.
episode.
But the what was the other movies that Rob Zombie
House of a Thousand
House of
Corpses and
Corpses,
Devil's
yeah.
Rejects. And,
I
Devil's
have to say, I love the Devil's Rejects, and I'll tell you why. And a lot of people always look at me like I'm nuts.
I enjoyed it too. I thought it was great.
What I thought was fantastic about it is the structure of it. If you look at The Empire Strikes Back and you look at that film and you look at the structure on both of them, they are almost exactly alike.
I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit when you just compared those two.
I swear, I
What the hell are
watched.
you smoking?
I'm telling you, I watched the movie and I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. Then I went and I watched it again. I started thinking about that. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. The friendship there, that's very Lando betrayal. Like every part of that film was. I don't know if he purposely did that or if that was just because that is the best way to make a sequel. Is you look at The Empire Strikes Back and you say, what did they do to their characters? Let me see what I can do to my characters to put them in that kind of
secrets of the industry right there. Yeah, that movie had me till Freebird, and then I couldn't handle it. I just kept going.
But that's like the last part of the movie.
But it was the whole song. It was the whole song. You don't understand how much I hate that song.
Oh.
No, I have a worse Freebird movie. It was the one with oh God, I just blanked. It was a Almost Famous director. What's that director's name?
Oh, the one that's married to the
Crow.
art Nancy Wilson.
Cameron Crowe.
No, the last movie he just did, it was with Orlando Bloom and Kristen Dunst, and the
Cameron
last
Crowe.
half of that, the last half of that movie, a band is just playing
Cameron Crowe.
because I know. Waiting for 6 more.
Cameron Crowe.
Somebody where I am is going to come in and say, "Oh, that was Cameron Crowe."
Wasn't that Cameron Crowe?
Yeah, but that's like the worst use of Freebird because it literally was a bad band performing Freebird all the way from beginning to end.
Sorry. Not to be too controversial here, but was there a good band that ever performed that song? Because I don't think there was. But this is not a movie conversation. I'm sorry.
And send your email feedback at mrmovienews.com.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Everyone can like what they like.
That's why everybody
Yeah.
yells Bird in the audience because it's like the biggest. It's I mean now I'm going to get letters too, but it's the biggest joke of a song when you really think about it.
That's
You know what,
feedback
though?
at
The thing is-
mrmovienews.com. Address to Rich.
But
Just one other thing.
I think the
Cameron
Halloween. I think the Halloween movies, though, to circle back to that. I don't have any kind of. I've never honestly. This is people are gonna shoot me, but I've never seen the original Halloween. So
Oh my God.
But that's the thing. That's why I enjoyed the freaking Rob
Yeah.
Zombie ones because I
Even
don't
I've seen
have
that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I missed out on a lot of horror movies when I was a kid because
Yeah.
my mom
Yeah.
wouldn't let me watch
Yeah.
them. And there's a few that I just never got to see, like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Halloween, the first one, and some other ones. But I've seen some wacky movies.
Yeah, because they never play Halloween on TV
Yeah.
or anything.
Well, I got the Blu-ray. I got the Blu-ray during Halloween, but then I ended up getting having a lot of work. So I haven't had a chance to watch that Halloween Blu-ray.
So you
But I'm
have
not
to,
gonna watch.
you have to
I
watch
gotta-
it because it'll make Scary Movie funnier for you when you see the when you see the scene where he looks out the window and the guy's standing there and then she looks back and you see him run out of the way. That's all just Halloween parody.
But the thought process that he's had time to watch Scary Movie but not had time to watch Halloween is more concerning to me than maybe
Why are you
anything
talking
else.
about me like I'm not even here? What are you talking about?
All right.
I'll watch Halloween.
Wait, was that a quote from the Julia Roberts movie? What was that? Steel Magnolias?
I don't know.
That wasn't directed by Cameron Crowe.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And Cameron Crowe is resting on Johnny Depp's head. Sorry.
Wow.
I think we're close to getting the title of this episode.
And if anyone,
Crowe.
Where it's the episode where we get negative listeners. It actually is a negative sign.
well, if you don't know what we're referencing, you can look for the picture from Tonto. There's a preview picture from Tonto with Tonto and the Lone Ranger, and Johnny Depp looks very bizarre with a crow on his head.
It was so funny is we're so far away from every time we try to
Cameron
talk about that picture, we ended up talking about Cameron Crowe.
All right.
He's
move on
directing
here.
that movie by remote through that bird.
All right, moving on. We spoke about these movies last week. They finally have gotten release dates. I'm speaking of RoboCop, the remake, and Cloudy 2, Revenge of the Leftovers. RoboCop is set for August 9th of 2013, and Cloudy 2, Revenge of the Leftovers is coming out December 20th of 2013. As of now, RoboCop, which has the August 9th, 2013 weekend to itself, Red 2, and the Smurfs 2 is set for release a weekend earlier.
Nice.
Cloudy 2, Revenge of the Leftovers, also doesn't have any direct competition yet for December 20th, although it opens a week after The Hobbit There and Back Again debuts.
Drop it.
I want to see the executive that sees Cloudy and wants that to be competition, says, game on. And that's good. That's the weekend.
Well, I really love the first one so much.
Yeah, it
Cloudy.
was fun.
I thought
I
Cloudy
liked
was
it
so
too.
fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
What's this
Oh.
new one going to be called, Scott?
Cloudy 2, Revenge of the Leftovers.
You know, I that's kind of cute. I just wish that movies would stop being so afraid to name the movie something else instead of
Yeah.
putting a 2 Electric Boogaloo behind everything. You know,
Yeah.
it should just be whatever the name of the movie is, and forget about the 2 and the 3 and the 4.
But how are they going to know what movie is it, Tony? I don't understand.
Well, if they were watching
What
it all
movie am I
along, they would
seeing?
know. If
What
they
movie
were,
am I seeing?
yeah,
Because then this is what happens. They go see that movie. Like, I already saw this movie.
Yeah.
I know that character. I
That's a
already
good
saw
point.
it.
yeah.
I like
Wow, what kind of
that,
impression is that?
Scott, when you were announcing those back to back, the RoboCop and then the Cloudy, Revenge of the Leftovers, it almost sounded like it was one movie, like RoboCop, Revenge of the Leftovers, like little bits of broken.
Yeah,
up
Nancy
machinery.
Nancy Allen is just still a little bit alive, and she's coming back. All right, we'll see if they can dig her up. All right, it seems that Tom Cruise, probably one of the most busy actors in Hollywood today, seems to have another movie coming up that's possibly going to be a huge film directed by Clint Eastwood, and that is the remake of A Star is Born. It seems that he might be starring in this movie opposite Beyonce. Production has been delayed on A Star is Born due to Beyonce having a child. So this could work to Tom Cruise's favor since he begins production on Horizons next week and then moves to We Mortals Are directly after that. So he's a busy man, and it looks like this one might be happening with Clint Eastwood at the helm.
I wonder if it's going to be a musical like the other 2.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe,
Beyonce's
I
in it.
mean, Yeah.
The other one
Yeah.
was it was Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson, right?
Mhm.
Right, and I think Judy Garland before that one.
I just always remember them naked on posters.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll happen. But but no, I mean Clint Eastwood is a great director, so I as much as that movie actually doesn't interest me, I probably still would like it if I watched it.
Although
Okay.
he and Harrison Ford battle for who's the grumpiest in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, it was actually as much as Gran Torino was a good movie, it was unpleasant for me to watch because I didn't like seeing him that way.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that.
Especially him singing the end song.
Yeah.
We know
Why?
the Gran
And
Torino. Why? I was just waiting for him to go. Gran Torino.
Get off my grand.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it when protagonists are openly racist. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe that's just something that's in my character. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody loved that movie, and we're like, no, but it's had a heart of gold. And I'm like, yeah, but he was still awful. Like, it's not a Henry Higgins thing where it's like, yes, but I'm awful to everyone. No, you're racist.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think, to be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of that movie. I saw that one in the theaters thinking, because it was nominated.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I just felt like the story was very thin. I mean, it was very cliche. Like if it was a episode of Good Times from the 70s, it would have fit in, but it was just like so typical. I don't know. I didn't feel anything to it. And I just was kind of just like, well, I don't understand what everybody sees that I don't see,
Mhm. Yeah, my brother actually raved about it and made me watch it. And I was like, really? Really? This?
Yeah.
Go ahead, make my Torino.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Iron Man will have multiple suits in the Avengers. We're getting closer and closer to the Avengers debuting in 2 months, just under 2 months on May 4th. Director Josh Whedon recently addressed criticisms over Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man suit in this new adventure and confirmed that we will see more than one suit in this movie. even acknowledging the emblem on Tony Stark's chest. There will be more than one suit in the film, he says. They get a bit of wear and tear, honestly. It's sort of a tradition that Marvel brought to the table. We like to change it up. We like to see the suits evolve, I said. It's great. Then you're going back to the circle because the triangle is ass. I'm sorry, but the circle has meaning. The triangle does not.
But the
triangle's ass?
What a horrible comment.
That's what he says.
All right.
But you know what's stupid about that is... what's stupid about that is in the comics, I mean, he always changed. He always had different suits. And I feel like people just have nothing to complain about. Everybody I feel like people just say, my life is too good. What can piss me off? Yeah. And that's what they decide is they're going to be mad about. Like, I mean, are they marching in Washington about this as well? I mean, what's?
Yeah.
So
I know.
ridiculous.
And honestly, if anybody's going to mention something about a costume, I really think that people should pay attention to Captain America, because as I am not saying that it's going to make the movie bad or anything, but his outfit in this is very questionable, especially compared to the outfit that he wore in his own movie, which I thought was fine. But this one is kind of silly looking, and that's hard. That's tough to be the silly looking one in a gang full of,
tough guys,
crazy clad people. But
it looks like he's wearing pajamas.
That's the problem too. Is like I wondered how that costume was going to look, because that is his costume in the comics.
Yeah.
And the other costume he only wore in the 40s. But I know they want to be true to it, but when I first saw it in the end of Captain America itself, when they had the teaser, I thought it looked a little like I don't know, it looked a little dated. Like maybe they needed it to. But then see what happens is if they try to update it, then you have that guy, and it's not right what you've done. I've gathered my friends, and we're not buy popcorn at the theater,
That's true. And honestly, even though I notice it, and it's something that I like. Is kind of bothersome, it's certainly nothing. Like it's like the Princess and the Pea, I mean, it's such a little thing compared to everything that's going on and how awesome it is, and the fact that they really are trying to be true to the comics, I think is great. So yeah, it looks silly, but I'm rolling with it. I mean, geez, we sat through the crazy costume variations for First Class and nobody seemed to mind that. So I don't know. It should be good.
Did anyone? I sent the trailer to you guys, the German version of the, and but there's a few interesting shots. My favorite one, they added to the circle, which is the Hulk roaring, which is a kind of cool little shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, one of the added scenes was Tony Stark making a comment about Captain America wearing the most form-fitting costume.
Yeah,
which was pretty funny.
Is that trailer available for our listeners? Is that something that's available online?
I was sent the link, but it is on Ain't It Cool News, and it's also on superherohype.com.
Okay, and you might want to post a link to that on our Facebook so they can access that.
Yeah, and it is in German, but they at the bottom of it they kind of script what the added scenes were.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. The Evil Dead remake gets Jessica Lewis joining the cast. She was previously with Melrose Place, the remake series, and has now joined on to be within this production. The theater comes to theaters April 12th, 2013, and she joins Elizabeth Blackmore and Jane Levy. So we will see.
It's all chicks? It's all chicks in this movie?
Yeah.
It's like what, Evil Dead, the chick version?
But wasn't the girl who left, wasn't the main character who left, wasn't she the actress from 90210, the remake? So where is their talent pool really coming from?
Yeah.
And maybe talent pool was the wrong choice of words there.
They've only gotten one actress that I like, which is the girl from not Modern Family, it's Suburgatory. But besides that, every other person I hear, like I don't know why everything has to come from Gossip Girls or Melrose Place or Vampire Diaries or... there are other working actresses out there besides from the CW,
Yeah, but they want to get those. They want to get those teenagers who watch those shows to go see that movie. So, and plus they're easy on the eyes, and if it's rated R, the teenagers are excited about seeing them.
I'm already clenching, about having to talk to these teenagers about this movie, though. Like, and them being excited about it, and me being like, "But you don't understand." And I don't like to be that person. I don't like to. I'm not trying to be an elitist jerk or anything like that. But I know that it's going to happen. These 13-year-old girls are going to come in and be like, "Oh my God, that movie was so scary." and I'm going to be like, "Really? You should watch the original movies." And they'll be like, "Oh, that was gross."
It's boring. It's boring. It's old.
The hardest part about dealing with something like that too is you want the things that you like to be appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want them to be popular, because once they're popular, it's like they're taken away from you. And then they become, you know what I mean? And then it's almost like they take them to another level, and then it makes you feel like you don't want to be part of that thing anymore.
Well, it's just because
that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yes, but no.
I hate all of you.
No, it's just that it's taking it and forgive the word, but it's bastardizing it, basically, where it is becoming something different, and it is becoming a distilled, like, watered down version of itself, and it's not true to the line. Like, I would be excited about it again if it was another sequel, and we've talked about this before, and that wouldn't have the same effect. I would say, like, yeah, let's get these kids into these seats and broaden that fan base, even though it's broad enough. But I always want to talk to people about it. So, I mean, broadening the fan base is one thing. Making it into something it's not, or that it wasn't meant to be, originally is another. Although, who am I to say what it's meant to be when Sam Raimi is actually involved? So,
I know, that's
shame on me.
That
But
he and Bruce are involved. It makes you have to almost say, okay, I have to take a look at it. But that's
the thing. It could surprise us.
What's up?
It totally could surprise us, though. That's the thing. It's like, as much as I'm against it, it could surprise us and actually be kind of good. And also, I mean, like, I was the first person to say, I'm not going to go see The Thing, the remake. I'm not going to see it. This is bullcrap. But then I actually sat down and watched it and was pleasantly surprised and very entertained by it. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see.
No, I do seriously have that problem. I kind of have that problem a little bit, even with Avengers in a weird way, because I'm so excited about it, but at the same time, I don't want it to be, because then when I heard a report where Joss Whedon said that the next Avengers movie, even though this is the big one, he hopes that what he can do with the next Avengers movie is make it a smaller movie. And I love that idea, because that's like the comics. That's like, you make the grand movie and then you make a small one. Most people in Hollywood, they don't think like that. They think you should make the big one next, And Star Trek, and Star Trek did that. I think it was the Next Generation movie where they had the Borg one, and then they followed that up with kind of a love story, and everybody hated that because they wanted the big adventure again. And so I feel like, what's going to happen is they're going to do that, and then everybody else takes ownership, and then they're like, no, we wanted it to be this way. And then it just becomes, it's just out there, and you have to just suffer through the third one where it's like a Transformers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I'm an old man, so get off my movie.
Okay, moving on. Venom gets revived with director Josh Trank. Chronicle, which we were just speaking of recently, the director, Josh Trank, is in negotiations to direct this long in development hell spinoff to the Spider-Man movies. The project has been in development since 2008, way back when Sam Raimi was in talks to direct Spider-Man 4. The project was initially intended as a starring vehicle for Topher Grace, who played Venom in Spider-Man 3. The project fell apart in December of 2009 when Topher Grace indicated he would not return for the spin-off, and it is believed that Topher Grace will not play the title character in this new version. I think Topher Grace just died of a heart attack.
It sounded like David fainted over there.
There's a little more to the story. Hopefully we don't need to do CPR. Now it seems the project is back on track, with Sony seeking out a new screenwriter to tackle Venom. Writers such as Jacob Aaron Estes and the Zombieland team of Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick were attached to write the script at one point. Venom is supposedly coming to theaters sometime this year. It ain't happening. Don't wait for it. So looks like things are starting to pick up a little bit with this franchise. Who knows? We will see.
That's good because honestly, he didn't get enough of attention in Spider-Man 3, even though that was an unfortunate movie altogether. He's such a big character. He definitely deserves a movie.
He was shoehorned into that movie. I honestly think Spider-Man 3 was just supposed to be about Sandman, and I'm sure Raimi got pressured into putting.
I felt.
Oh, he said that. Yeah, Raimi's actually said that in interviews that he really didn't like Venom until Venom was on the set speaking. I remember seeing that interview with him where he's like, "Oh, he's kind of a nice character."
Yeah.
I don't like Venom. I think Venom's stupid. That's right. I said it. Venom's a stupid character.
The only problem I think with a movie like Venom or even Deadpool is they're great side characters, but I think it's hard to pull off a comedic main superhero character that's too inside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm very curious how it's going to be played and how it's going to be received, because you're absolutely right. I love Deadpool, but I'm not in love with Ryan Reynolds, but
no.
But I am curious to see how that plays off. I wish it was a Deadpool Cable movie, because that would be cool.
That would be.
But like, I really, really hope Cable makes an appearance, even if it's just a nod. But anyway,
Deadpool, what is it? I can't get across this building. I need some cable to get across. I actually have some.
We were at the comic store today, and there's this little bin of like old toys to buy, and it's just like small toys this amount, big toys. There were 3 different cables.
Oh no!
Different lines, and I was like, "Why did someone?"
They were like $1. Like $1 for this cable. We can't get rid of it.
Why does everybody hate Cable? Like, I loved Cable. I loved Strife. Like, I thought those were like such great characters.
No, because execution.
I don't hate him. I just think he looks stupid. That's all.
Stupid. If Lines drew you would look stupid too. Like,
I look stupid anyway. It's okay.
I love the action figure because it had he had the one glowing eye, which they were able to pull off in that old. And the embarrassing part about that is I think I was 18 and I'm like choo choo, holding the action figure. I can look through him.
Oh man, that's funny.
Anyway, Venom, yeah. It'd be cool to see Carnage or some other villains in there too. I mean, I'm interested in a villain.
None of those characters, they're all dumb.
Carnage? What are you talking about?
Carnage was cool. You didn't like Venom or Carnage?
I think they're both stupid. I don't know. I guess I'm retarded.
Carnage was
like interesting whereas I didn't. So
Carnage was like a real interesting, like because he was like from the blood, and it even looks like blood, and he's. I don't know. I love that whole. I thought Venom was amazing. I was excited when I first heard they were going to do that in Spider-Man 3, and then when they kind of, like you said, they shoehorned it in at the last 10 minutes, I was kind of disappointed because I had nothing against Sandman, but he really wasn't much of a villain. Much like even Doc Ock really wasn't much of a villain. Like as amazing as Spider-Man 2 is.
I thought he was good.
No, he's great in the movie, but in terms of being the bad guy that he is in the comics, he really wasn't. He was kind of, both of these villains were like villains with a heart of gold, and Venom, there would be no way to really do that for him, and I think that's probably where Sam Raimi had the disconnect, because all of his villains so far in the 3 movies, they all have a good place that you can see, and where Doc Ock is just, he's just evil to the core. There should be nothing redeeming about him whatsoever. Everything about him is greed and it's all motivated because he wants to do these things to get glory for himself. So he has a motivation, but that's what I think I loved about. Oh wait, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, but go on, next story.
Topher Grace. There's a part in Spider-Man 3. There's a part in Spider-Man 3 where Topher Grace is talking as Venom, and he's got those fake teeth in his mouth, and his teeth, you can tell he says his line, and he has to brace his teeth with his tongue because they're about to fall out.
It's like those old trick-or-treater vampire teeth that kids used to wear.
Yeah, pretty much. He says his line, and he uses his tongue to push his teeth back up. It's kind of funny. Anyway,
and you know what? And nothing against Tobey Maguire. I love the guy. I thought he was great as Spider-Man. But I look at Topher Grace, and I said to myself, I said, this is really who Peter Parker is. Nothing
Yeah,
against
true.
Yeah.
True.
but that's Peter Parker, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, we spoke about this movie earlier, and we were associating it with the original, which we thought were with the monkeys. But Richie, you mentioned it, and sure enough, it is. A Project X sequel is happening. Let's see. It took second place. Yeah, it took second place with an impressive $21 million at the box office. So Warner Brothers is wasting no time by moving forward with a sequel, hiring screenwriter Michael Bacall to write a treatment for the follow-up. It is said that the sequel hinges on how much producers Todd Phillips and Joel Silver respond to Michael Bacall's treatment. And it isn't known if Nima, the director, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce the last name, would come back to direct the follow-up. So things are already in the works for a sequel to this, I guess, Porky's of 2012? Yes? No?
Right.
Is
All right.
it considerable like Porky's or, I don't know.
I don't know.
Or American Pie?
I don't even know anything about it. I don't even know anything
Okay.
about it.
It really
This
did
is a
come
party
out,
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out of like nowhere and just I don't know. I have no it does nothing for me. Like even though I love Superbad, I don't have any feeling at all to see this movie, you know.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's for our demographic. I mean, and that's just it. It's probably very funny for the people it's intended to be very funny for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Elton John released the movie, was it last year, called Romeo and Juliet. Well, it seems he's coming back out with a sequel with his Rocket Pictures company. It's called Romeo and Juliet, Sherlock Gnomes.
Oh my god.
So,
Oh my god.
Wait a minute, but he really was that involved? I wondered because he was at every award ceremony where it was nominated, and he really seemed like he was really angry that Madonna won at the Golden Globes versus his Romeo and Juliet. But I just thought it was a joke. I didn't realize he was a producer on the film. I mean,
well, it made
I
100.
liked it. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, but it was really adorable.
Really?
What, Romeo and Juliet, really?
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. And the little guy. Go ahead.
It made $190 million worldwide.
Wow.
wow, geez. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not the demographic. I would have a hard time renting Romeo and Juliet and say this is what I'm going to spend my precious my precious 2 hours of time that I have. I'm going to spend watching Romeo and Juliet.
When it goes to like Netflix or something, check it out at least. It was really cute. It was much better than I thought it was going to be.
I'll watch Halloween instead.
The sad part is I'm gonna end up at Christmas at my niece's, and I'm gonna be ending up watching Romeo and Juliet 4 times that same day.
You guys like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. What's the big deal? What's the big deal here, boys? Like, there's nothing wrong with this. And Ewan McGregor is great.
Oh, Ewan McGregor? I didn't notice.
Isn't he the voice?
Tony's like, I'm
And
watching it tonight.
If he's not the voice, then I've just imaginarily like implanted that.
Well, he was supposed to be the voice. Actually, one of the reasons I didn't see that movie is because I was in on the creation of that movie really early on. It was originally going to have music by Elton John and Tim Rice, the guys who did The Lion King. And somewhere along the line, they got the idea to dump some of the songs from there and just make it all Elton John songs. So that's part of the reason I never got to see it, actually. But originally, it was going to be a big cast. It was Ewan McGregor, the lady who plays in Q. I can't think of her name now. The Dame Judi Dench. A lot of famous English.
Oh, was
people
it a big like it was a big British film? Is that what
it was going to be? A lot of British
there?
people in it, with the gnome theme in it, and then it turned into what it was. But I know it was a blockbuster, and it is on Netflix. I have not yet seen it though.
I'm checking real quick to see. Oh, James McAvoy and Emily Blunt were the voices. Yeah, okay. So it makes very much sense that Ewan McGregor was supposed to be because
he was, yes.
He really like that character's persona for some reason. You know how you can tell when an animator has someone in mind, and not to say that he looks like a gnome, but like just the way that his movements were and everything. Like my mind instilled Ewan McGregor in that role, and that's funny. Because he has a very distinctive voice.
Maybe it was the way it was marketed, because it seemed like, I guess because I obviously I know nothing about this film except for the trailers that were cut, and they just seemed very it seemed like a small animation company. Like, I didn't really know anything about it, but I am seeing on Rotten Tomatoes it got like a 56%, but the general consensus is liked it. So,
if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
I think David Furnish, Elton's partner or husband, had taken over the producing rights of the movie from. It was originally going to be a small Disney movie, if I remember correctly, and then it languished for a while in development, and then finally ended up with Furnish's company, and that's
wow,
why-
I'm looking at the cast. There's a lot of people in
Yeah.
this.
Jason Statham,
Like,
Ozzy
Jason
Osbourne,
Statham.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah. I mean, there
Yeah,
were
that's-
good voices in it, and
We're
I mean,
really
I'm not
talking
gonna-
about Romeo and Juliet.
But even think about, listen to that. You've got Hulk Hogan and Dolly Parton in the same movie. Like, how would that happen?
It was just kind of adorable. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to make any of my all-time favorite movie lists, but as a free, cute movie, yeah, check it out if you have Netflix.
Jackie,
All right,
are you an Elton
you
John fan
sold,
to begin
I'll
with?
Yes, I am. I actually
So
saw
did-
him and Billy Joel together face-to-face tour. Oh my God, I cried.
Excellent. Cool.
So
So
did
did
I.
you, did you
So
like
did
the did you like the use of the music in the movie?
Yes, I did. Not enough to have purchased the album or
There were
learned
remakes,
any
right?
of the
Remakes
songs.
of some of his
Yeah.
classic songs.
Yeah. I mean, I just remembered liking it. I remember it lending a really good vibe, and I only watched it the one time. I probably need to see it again, but I
Were
probably
there any
need to
oopsie
see this-
doopsie songs in it?
Oopsie
doopsie.
I got you there,
Oopsie
Dave.
doopsie
I
song?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, now I have a grudge because I had tickets to see Billy Joel and Elton John, and then that's when Billy Joel got sick and
Oh.
he had the hemorrhage, and then I never got to see the show.
Well, I think that was the weekend I first got cable. I was looking forward to seeing that concert, and it was canceled.
Oh, the HBO,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. If you
Okay,
ever have a chance
this-
to see them, they're great.
Okay.
Romeo and Juliet, folks, rent it.
I want to
right,
watch
this-
Godfather 2 or Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet.
If you seriously, if you take Romeo and Juliet and you put that up like with Empire Strikes Back, they're very similar.
Hey, well, maybe the
and
sequel-
and the Devil's Rejects. If you put all three of those together, they're on the same concept.
Romeo loses a hand in the second one. That's what happens.
And
He sings a song about it.
and rumor has it that Cameron Crowe was a secret director on Romeo and Juliet.
Wow.
There you go.
All right, moving on. This story is a little out of place because we should have talked about it after we did the original one. But sorry, folks, I screwed up here. Marvel's The Avengers sequel to be a small, painful, character-driven affair. This comes from Josh Whedon. The filmmaker was asked if a sequel could be any bigger than the first one, which is coming out May 4th. He goes on and he says, by not trying to be, by being smaller, more personal, more painful, by being the next thing that should happen to these characters and not just a rehash of what seemed to work for the first one, by having a theme that is completely fresh and organic to itself. I want to know what makes them tick and what makes them flawed, what makes them fight, and ultimately what makes them awesome. I go to these movies for those moments with the heroes, when the heroes define themselves, either through action or deliciously overwritten speeches. So that's what he says as
That's
far as a
great.
sequel, which we know very well that there's going to be one. Let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this when watching the trailer. Do you really think that this could possibly be the movie to bump Titanic out of the #1 spot?
I don't know. I never really thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's going to be. I hope it's going to be an amazing movie. That's what I'm really
Will it
excited
be bigger
about.
than? Okay,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this: will it be bigger than Batman?
Could be. I mean, it's hard for I hate thinking in terms of money. That doesn't really mean anything to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more about just making a good movie, because I feel like once people start projecting what they think it could be, that's the business side that I don't like much. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it would be great. The only thing that it means to make a lot of money is that we get another one, because if it fails, then that could just bring down the whole Marvel house, and I wouldn't want to see that happen, with the movies. But yeah, I
feel like there's been so much build because of all of the different movie tie-ins that this has to be created, and because it really is the first time that we've seen something this huge with movie crossovers. I think that it does have a lot of potential to make a lot of money, especially with all the great buzz that we've been hearing about people or different reviews that are happening. But I don't know. Titanic, that's tough. Who knows? Ticket prices are more expensive now.
Well, let me ask you this. Can this movie fail in any way, or is the expectation so high and the demand for it, we're so hungry for it, it's impossible to fail, even if the script was horrible? Is there any way for this movie to fail?
Honestly, that's what I keep worrying about.
You know what I have to say about that? You know what I have to say about that? Friggin' X-Men First Class made a ton of money, and people loved it.
It was not a personal attack.
It's not a personal attack. I'm not attacking
You might as well have said, even though idiots loved it, people who are lower than scum of the earth, homeless people, are better than the people who like this movie.
Even people who wear crows on their head like
Halloween. I like Rob Zombie's Halloween.
No, but going back to what you're saying about the Avengers, like the only way that the only thing that could happen is it'll always have a huge first weekend. There's no way around that at this point. But if it had terrible, terrible word of mouth, the drop off would happen in the second weekend. And if it doesn't have legs, then that's where a movie won't be able to make the money of Titanic, because you got to remember the reason why Titanic is so different is because it wasn't like it made that money in 3 weekends like movies have to do now. That movie was in the theaters for months. Yeah. I mean, almost a year. I remember seeing it almost a year later with friends, and that's another thing too. That's a movie that transcended. I was having an argument with my wife today about whether Titanic is a chick flick or not, because she thinks it is, and I say that I don't think of it as a chick flick. I think of it more as just an event movie that has all of these themes in it. And
themes.
What's that? What did you say?
I said chick flick themes.
Oh,
yeah, it's a chick flick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is, but at the same time, when I went to see it, it wasn't like you go to the movies now and you see a Katherine Heigl movie. Well, not that I'm doing that, but it wasn't like you go there and it's just like all women and then guys being forced to go there by their wives or their, everybody.
Well, there's a difference between a good chick flick and a bad chick flick. I think that's what you're not understanding. Like, listen, yes, there is. But
and that'll make another good subject for a geek podcast as well.
Yeah.
Chick flicks versus regular flicks.
Tony's
chick flicks versus flicks that other people want to watch.
Good chick flicks versus bad chick flicks. You like a couple good chick flicks, I'm sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Chick flicks versus movies that everybody else wants to see.
I embarrassingly found out recently. I embarrassingly found out recently that apparently I'm a big Hugh Grant fan, and I really had no idea. So
you are, Richie. God, don't you remember? When he was when he hit his heyday, that's all I heard about from you. It was awesome.
Are you serious? Wait,
Totally. You had his impression down. You even got some of it. You got his hairstyle.
Dude, are you kidding me?
No.
9 Months was probably one of your top 3 films of all time.
Oh
my God.
Right after 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Yeah, you were a big fan. I remember. So, but anyway, I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you guys, though. What would make Avengers a bad movie to you guys? Like, what could break this movie?
A boring story.
The film breaks in the middle.
Yeah, if they don't know what to do with the characters, like if
everyone's just standing around just talking to each other, like like an episode of all those dogs. What is it? All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Go to Heaven, yeah. That's because it looks like that, and there's a problem.
All right, our last 2 stories shouldn't generate a lot of discussion because it's probably something that's just okay. Next story, but anyway, Dwayne The Rock
Way
Johnson.
to finish the show up.
Anybody, you can stop the podcast right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just said Dwayne
See ya.
Johnson. Isn't that enough? Dwayne Johnson is in talks for Journey 3. Obviously, Journey 2, The Mysterious Island, which is the sequel to Journey to the Center of the Earth, is coming out very shortly. Journey 3 is now getting a green light. So Brad Payton and screenwriters Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn are being brought on board to work on the next script. Journey 3 is looking for a 2014 release.
Didn't Journey 2 already come out?
It just
Yeah,
it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on DVD, I
All
think,
right.
already, right?
At this point, they're going to start
All right.
handing people DVDs as they leave the theater. You know,
You can just stay here and watch it, or take it home and watch it.
All right, here's the last story of the day, and this is another one where, okay, we could just cut it right here. We can end the show. Lionsgate is developing a Nicolas Cage comic book heist film. So
starring Nicolas
Lion-
Cage.
He's going to
Nicolas
steal
Cage,
comic
yeah.
books?
So should we end the podcast now? Lionsgate is planning on bringing Nicolas Cage's Superman comic book heist story, Action Number 1, to the big screen. The story focuses the story focuses on a group of nerds who attempt to steal Cage's copy of Action Comics Number 1, the landmark 1938 comic that introduced the world to Superman. The studio bought the story from Reno 911 writers Robert Ben Garant and Thomas Lennon, who are also producing the movie. The theft of the comic made headlines in 2000 and was discovered among the contents of an abandoned storage locker in 2011. The project is written with the actor in mind, but it is uncertain if Nicolas Cage will play himself in the film. The project is in early development.
Wow.
That is it.
Wow.
He really needs
so they
money,
took away
doesn't
the
he?
role of Superman, and then they took away his comic book too. He's like, I'm going to get money off of this somehow.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That doesn't need to be made. Although I have to admit, I don't think I got to talk about this, but I did see Ghost Rider in the theater in 3D,
Yeah, you
and
didn't tell us.
I liked it. Yeah, I never talked about it. I really did. I thought it was fun. You know, I didn't have any real problems with it. It wasn't a blockbuster movie, but it wasn't anything that I wouldn't expect the Crank directors to do. Like, it just
Yeah.
looked like it could have been Crank, you know, or Crank 3,
Yeah.
just a supernatural version of it. But I thought it was good. You know, I liked it. It was worth the 3D was interesting. You know, I know it was converted. It wasn't filmed that way, but it really was. It was a fun movie.
All
Yeah, I
right,
want to
so-
see it too. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
So that's our movie news for the week. Rich, do you have any Blu-rays or
Well-
DVDs you wanted to bring up for this week?
Well, before we close out the movie news, there were two stories. One I had mentioned last week was the Mark Miller, James Bond kind of movie that was talked about, where he and the director of Kick-Ass were going to be making that an original film. Turns out they came up with the idea for it. He's making it into a comic book, and they're making the movie. But the basic plot line of it is the idea of where does James Bond learn how to do all the things that he does, and he felt like when he saw Casino Royale, that in between part was missing. Like, he wanted to see how does he learn stealth, how does he do this and that. So the comic is kind of a My Fair Lady meets James Bond, and that's the idea for the movie and the comic. Comic is they're going to be done simultaneously, like they always seem to be doing. But casting, oh God, I'm gonna take heat for this. Casting is said to be either Colin Firth or Hugh Grant to play the older person who teaches the younger person. I had no
Votes
idea
for
Hugh Grant
Colin
was
Firth.
this.
The Bond
so-
in James goes before the Thames.
For my sake, I hope
Wow.
it's Colin Firth, to be honest. And then the only other piece of news that I had found is there was some pictures from Star Trek II of Spock fighting somebody who everyone kept. I forgot the actor's name, but they kept saying he was going to be Khan. But the pictures, what they reveal is he doesn't look like any character we've ever seen in the Star Trek universe before. But the scenes look like a pretty brutal fight between Spock and this character. So they've So Is there
I
anything
thought
up in
Leonard
there?
Nimoy had retired from acting. It's interesting he's got such a big part. Is it Spock you're talking about as Leonard Nimoy? Or you're talking about the new kid?
Oh, I was talking about the new kid, but
Oh,
Spock is
sorry.
in the movie.
Okay,
Well,
yeah,
but he is in
I
the
know.
movie as well.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what confused me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he says he retired, but he's done a bunch of things. Like I think Jackie had sent us all that video of Leonard Nimoy in that music video, right? Like that was pretty
Mhm.
recent. So I don't know how retired he actually. Plus, he's still on Fringe every once in a while. So
He's still
he's
on
not
what? I'm
as
sorry.
the television show Fringe.
He's on Fringe. Okay.
So yeah, he's still around. So in terms of Blu-ray
So is Eric
releases,
Dimetra.
I'm gonna go. I realized last week I didn't mention any of the releases that came out March 6th because there was a lot of big releases. I jumped actually that week and went to March 13th. Some of the big ones that came out were Immortals 3D, which I think Dave you had seen and you said was pretty good.
Well, the movie I thought was interesting. The 3D was not good, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it was
well,
Tarzan,
The 3D
right?
it took me out of the experience, unfortunately, and it pisses me off because Tarsem is such a great like visual director. Has such amazing visuals, and the 3D
Yep.
did not complement the visuals at all. So I'm really interested in seeing it again in 2D because I actually enjoyed the movie. It was kind of fun, and it's really interesting looking movie. Plus, you get to see it's a guy named Henry Cavill. I guess he's going to be playing the next Superman. Yeah, he's going to be the next Superman, and you actually get to see him. You get to see him actually act in a movie. So you get a sense of the presence that he's going to have as Superman, and there's some looks that he has in the movie that you can see him pull it off. You're like, yeah, I can see this dude.
When I see the costume, it remind me of when Superman was on Warworld and he was fighting, and he's in that kind of outfit with the beard and all that. He actually kind of looks like the way that character from Immortal looks like. So yeah. So
cool.
I'm anxious to see him. Other
It's neat.
release that came out last week was 9.5 Weeks, The Deer Hunter. Tony, I think you were asking about Footloose. It did come out last week, so you can start sleeping again. Jack and Jill, the Adam Sandler film.
Yes.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail came out in Blu-ray, but the reviews are terrible. Everyone's saying stay away from purchasing this. And if you already have the DVD, your best bet is to stay with that.
Why is
Parenthood
that?
came out. Well, they said the transfer was nothing better than the way the DVD looks for the quality, but the extras, they actually removed extras that were on the DVD. So it's kind of a bare bones disc. It's not. Yeah, it's a real disappointment. The Skin I Live In, which is Antonio Banderas, was a big movie for him. Roman Polanski film that came out this year. And then there was a big box set of The Town, Ben Affleck's film, which is basically a huge, almost like a Criterion box set, which has 3 versions of the film on it. And the last version of it, which is a big giant director's cut, is really getting a lot of good reviews. Even though the film did get good reviews when it was released, they're saying that the ultimate version of it is even better than what was released in the theaters. So that was for last week. What's coming up next week on March 20th? We finally get Battle Royale, which is a great film. And like Jackie said before, Hunger Games comes out, run out and rent this because it seems like a lot of ideas are.
It's like one of the best movies.
It's
definitely my
money
top
well
10.
spent.
Yeah, definitely. And this is going to be the complete collection where it literally has 3 versions of the film, though the reviews already say that the ultimate uncut one is probably the best one to watch. But it also includes Battle Royale 2. Even though it wasn't a great movie, it's nice to have all that collected together. And then also tons of extras and making of documentaries and such like that. So that's a lot of fun.
The second one was such a, I don't know, it had such potential, had such a strong opening, and then it just falls apart.
Well, the director died and his son took over, and it just wasn't the same. You don't want to spend money on it, but the fact that it is included is kind of nice. Yeah.
As long as I don't have to pay for it, right? If it's part of it, then that doesn't bother me. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American version is being released March 20th. There's not a lot of idea of what the extras are going to be, but David Fincher usually does a pretty interesting making of on all of his discs, so definitely be worth seeing. One I'm excited about, which is the Muppets big 3-disc combo of the movie that was just released recently. So if anyone hasn't seen that, go check it out. Jonah Hill's in The Sitter. I know nothing about that film except it looked like a typical Jonah Hill film.
It looks like Adventures in Babysitting, but with Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And some curses thrown in for good measure.
Rich, I'm going to interrupt you really quickly on the Muppets disc. I had heard on another podcast related to Disney things that Disney's doing something slightly different with this one on Blu-ray, where if you put the movie on pause, you'll be seeing little Muppet skits going on that are made specifically for the Blu-ray.
Cool.
Oh, that's great. See, they always do cool things like that. I remember when they came out with the Muppets in Space on DVD. The coolest thing they did was there was a feature that you could turn on where you're watching audio commentary, and it was almost like Mystery Science Theater, where you see the outlines of Kermit or Fozzie, and they're commenting through the movie. Even though the movie wasn't the greatest, that was actually a lot of fun to watch it like that.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So, I'm glad they do that kind of stuff with them. And Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is being released. And then this is an unusual one for me to mention, but The War Room, it's a documentary from the during the Bill Clinton when he was going to become when he was running for president. This is the documentary. He's barely in it, but it's about all the people around him, like George Stephanopoulos. Carville is in it as well. But what's great about watching this documentary is this is where the seed for Primary Colors came from. Because you really will, if you've ever seen the movie Primary Colors, you'll identify who everybody is pretty quickly when you watch this documentary. And it's actually a really good, a really interesting one. So definitely worth checking out. And that's it.
All right, great. We'd like to remind you of the different ways that you can get in touch with us, but most of those ways can be accessed by our new website, www.mrmovienews.com. And there you'll be able to access a lot of our new content that we have in mind, as well as some things that are up there now. Scott, do you want to tell everybody about the forum a little bit more?
Well, we spoke about this last week, and basically it's just a way for the fans and listeners of the show to interact with us. We want to put up most of what we're speaking about on the show that will be into the forum, such as pictures, posters, links. I mean, whatever you pretty much see on the Facebook page, but within greater detail, and with also our comments and remarks. And we want to hear from you as well. And this just gives us a way to interact with our fans and listeners from all over. So please, if you visit the forums as a guest, take a couple of minutes out, register, become a member, and that way you can experience all of the features that the forum does provide.
Absolutely, and we definitely want to hear from you, and you can visit the forums at mrmovienewspodcast.proboards.com, or as I said, it's on the links that are on the main page at www.mrmovienews.com. Reach us at Facebook and Twitter as Mr. Movie News, and you can reach Scott directly at mrmovienews@gmail.com. And you can reach the show at feedback@mrmovienews.com. I guess you just have to Google mrmovienews.com and you'll find a way to get in touch with us, or Mr. Movie News Podcast, I should say. But one quick closing comment I have to make is last week we spoke about some trailers that Richard put together using some pretty neat software that had some movie scenes that incorporated a message about our show in it. And we were wondering which would be the most popular of those votes. And there's hands down a favorite, it appears, on our YouTube page. And that seems to be the one from The Big Lebowski. That's got the most views on it. And it's kind of interesting. And it's nice to know that people out there are responding to this, and we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear some feedback as to what you think of the show, what you think we should talk about, if there's any point of views of things that we want to do in the future. So, gang, thanks again for another great show. Anyone else have a last comment?
Well, I just want to say I'm working on a Hugh Grant retrospective that I'll have ready by next week.
And it's produced by Cameron Crowe.
That's right.
All right, guys. So we shall see you next time.
Cameron Crowe, everybody.